Welcome, everyone, to another episode of You're in Charge Now What? I'm your host, Glenn Pasch, and today I am joined by Bruce Miller. He's the owner of Miller Motors. And today we're going to be talking again about not just leadership as a generality, but there's a couple things that I really wanted to bring Bruce on for. And that's to talk about overcoming obstacles and how he's built teams, because he's done it really, really well. So, Bruce, first off, thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem. The pleasure's all mine. Thank you, Glenn, for having me. I love talking about the car business. I love trying to help new leaders. I love talking about overcoming obstacles and things like that. It's been a part of my journey, and so I'm glad we get together today.
Great. Well, I appreciate that. And what's great about these conversations, this isn't just focused on automotive. This applies to everybody, because we have an audience that's in and out of automotive. We have people who are new to leadership. We also have people who are experienced, who are always trying to get better. And that's one of the things that you had mentioned for yourself. And I want to start there, because one of the things you said is about taking care of yourself first, meaning investing in yourself. I think you said you are the hero of your own story. No one's going to save you, but it is this idea of constant development. So why is constant development important, and why is it important for you to work on yourself first before working on others?
Right. Constant development is just a part of the car business, because we all start in the car business, at least on the retail side, in the variable operations, underqualified, underprepared, undereducated about leadership and teaching and coaching. And we're just getting there and sell cars. We're good at selling cars. They say, hey, you were good at selling cars. Let me make you the manager.
Right.
Well, at that point in time, you need to be able to pour into individuals, care about their lives, teach, coach, develop. And if you are not ready or prepared to do that, you're not going to be a good. You're leading people. You're not just selling cars at that point. You might sell cars and your store might do well, but you're not going to develop nobody. So I come into the car business as a high school dropout. I didn't go to college, 21 years old, and by 21 months later, by 23, I was in finance. I was a manager, and by 25, I was on the sales desk, and I had 6 people that work for me, and so I had to be able to coach them up and teach. So I embraced every training. I read audiobooks, and I embraced the Cardone. Cardone was our guy back 20 years ago. He still is today, but he was our trainer, and I did the classes. And when I went to the classes, because my organization was involved, I embraced those. I wasn't distracted. I wasn't worrying about getting out there. I wasn't caring about a deal I may miss. No, I dove in because I was trying to make myself the best leader I can. Between the sales manager at 25 and managing a couple stores at 28, I started to realize that I'm leading people. So I need to be able to be ready. My cup has to be filled if I'm going to pour into other people, and if I'm going to help other people. I have to have my life together, my relationships at home and things like that. And I got to have my life together if I'm going to help coach you on how to lead your life. Because if you spend 12 hours with your team, let's face it, you have so much influence on them. You have so much influence on directing them and leading and teaching them, but you have to be prepared. So yeah, you definitely need to train, be ready, and to soak up knowledge so you can give it back and teach people,
So let me ask you about that, because that, I think, and if we just look at automotive for a moment, because that's the industry you've lived in your life, what that sounds like, and I think a lot of owners and leaders, depend on someone who's self-motivated like you were, but there are other people that aren't. So why is there such a disconnect between in having time or investing in people the right way to develop them? Because you're right, that is one of the biggest downfalls, is just because you can do something doesn't mean that you can be a manager and lead people. So in your case, just because I sold doesn't mean I know how to run a sales team and lead people. So right. Why are we dependent so much on hoping that we run across someone like yourself who's motivated to go learn, listen to audiobooks, take the training seriously, Why isn't it more consistent in that industry where everybody has to be put through this to make them better?
It's a lack of like just vision. You know, there's organizations that would only hire somebody like myself to lead their salespeople. There's organizations who just, oh, you made the most gross, you the sales manager now. That doesn't, and they treat the employees terrible. There's no growth. There's no promoting off the floor. So it's just lack of like a vision. My opinion is lack of vision. It depends on what organization and what do they see their vision. Is there growth in that organization? Not to get religious, but the Bible talks about you can tell if a tree is a good tree by the fruits that it bears, right? So
Right.
a leader, you don't even have to tell me how good of a leader you are. Just I'm gonna ask you how many managers you promoted off your sales plan. Do you have any GMs that work for you that was on your management staff? If you ask those questions and the answer is not really, maybe there's one guy, then you probably wasn't as good of a leader as you thought you were. But I could tell you positions and people and promotions and a history of it. Like in the greater New Orleans area, there's not a dealership that I don't have somebody in that worked for me that says, man, I sold cars for Bruce, or 3-4 general managers, 3-4 used car directors, finance directors that, when I was in the franchise world, I'm in the independent world now, but I did it at a high level and I poured into people. So it's lack of vision. It's that organization not having no vision for the future. They just playing for today. They're not playing the infinite game.
Right. And I think that's and that's important. And for all of you listening, new leaders or experienced leaders, listen to what Bruce just said, is that he's mentioned it multiple times. It's talking about my job as a leader is to grow my people, invest in my people, because eventually I need to expand. Maybe I want to grow my business, or I, as a leader, we've spoken about this in previous episodes. I, as a leader, can't go on and move up to take on, more important tasks or other aspects of the business. If I can't have someone underneath me who can step into my role, I can't go any further. And that idea of investing in people, I think, is really, really key. So were you always that way? Meaning, if you look back before the car industry, were you always someone that, without even consciously thinking about it, that other people rallied around and you were a leader? Or was it just once you saw the vision or whatever your path was in automotive, something clicked?
Well, I started at 21 in the car business, so I have very little life experience prior to that. But yeah, I was always like voice of reason with my friends and things like that, and I always had leadership traits that I could look back to and say, okay, yeah, I was a leader. When I was a salesperson, I just wouldn't take. I led in a different way. I fought for what I thought was right, and I wouldn't take no for an answer. I wouldn't let people tell me any old thing. I was kind of, some people would deem me as like a hard to manage salesperson, like a rebellious salesperson. But all I was not putting up with like the laziness of my managers, or not putting up with the lack of effort of my finance manager. And so when you're not the boss, so for the first, when I was 29, I managed 3 used car lots for Group 1 Automotive. I was the used car director, and we had 3 new car franchises, and there was 1 used car lot that all the used cars came to. So at 29, I had like 12 salespeople, 2 managers, a title clerk, a couple porters. I had 15 people that I managed, and at that point in time, it was like I guess somebody said, "Hey, let's let this guy manage," and I was like young, and so that was my chance to be the leader, to be the take control, and that's that. But yeah, I think I always, but up until that point, I lost my train of thought for a second. Up until that point, I was misunderstood. When I was couldn't make the rules and I couldn't do what was right, I was argumentative, misunderstood.
Right.
I was like, because I wouldn't take what you was telling me if it wasn't right, and I would challenge it and things like that. And I got fired and this and that. But when I got to be the boss at 29, from 29 to now 44, I've been the boss. I've been managing managers, managing stores, managing, dealerships. And ever since I've been a boss, it's like it was like, fit like a hand in a glove. It was like perfect.
Right. But I think just listening to what you said, and what I love about that is, and again, folks, I know Bruce is talking fast for you, but there's so much value there, because when you are someone who is working on a team and you see that there's a disconnect in the process, or you see that there's inconsistencies, and it can be frustrating. And when sometimes when you're asking questions, people look at you and saying, to your point, Bruce, you're argumentative or you're causing trouble. It's a process where you sit there, and this is the important one, is documenting all the things. Because to Bruce's point is that when you're looking at managers or a leader that you who's in charge right now, there's good and bad, and you can learn a lot from somebody, as much as what they positively are doing, versus saying to yourself, well, when I get into my leadership position, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that. And what it sounds like, Bruce, is once you got your opportunity, you started to, forge your own path with the understanding, and I think this is key, is just like a child with their parents, they're always watching you. They may not say things to you, but they're watching you, and you are the example that they are going to build some of their foundational qualities around. Same thing with a leader. If they're watching you, and you always have to remember your team's watching you, so you have to be that example. So talk to me about those first couple years then. Once you got into the chair and you're the manager and you're saying, okay, I'm running my own show, I have my thoughts. What were some of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome, either for your own thinking, initially, I think this is going to work, and then it didn't work, or maybe pushback from your own team, questioning, et cetera?
Yeah. Look, what you're saying is exactly right. When I got to be the boss, I had so many examples of things I wasn't going to do because the managers I used to work for. One of those examples, when I was 21 and I first started in the business, I asked for Wednesdays off. I was a new convert to my church. I was a young man. I had just got married, and all I asked for was Wednesdays off. I was grateful for the job. I was uneducated. They gave me a chance. And my sales manager told me, he looked at me that night. He says, I'm your guy now. I'll give you off day whenever I want to give you. And think about that. Right. A young man was trying to like build the building blocks of his life, and the people that I work for didn't care enough to let me do that. How stupid is that? So when I got to management, I would allow things like that, and I would build the teams in that manner. I would want them to be the best people they could possibly be, not just on my sales floor, but in life, period.
But to your point right there, and I think this is an important point, I will bet you that sales manager, whoever manager who said that to you, said, I'm in charge, I'll let you go. That was how they learned, right? Yeah. And instead of going back and saying to themselves, I bet you if I had that person sitting in front of me and I said, okay, well, I see what you said to Bruce. Did your manager previously say that to you? And he said, yep, that's the way I was brought up. And if I said, well, how did it make you feel? And he said, well, I hated it. And then I'm thinking, well, then why would you repeat behavior? So I love the fact that you're looking at it and saying, if it bothered me, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like if it bothered you, it's probably going to bother my team. So why do it?
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Yep. And so like when I was in the management position, to answer the question, right, what was the obstacles I had? Well, getting from like sales manager to like lead guy, used car director, GSM, general manager, vice president operations, whatever. When you're a lead guy, there's some development that takes place from sales manager to that you become a leader. You understand that you're leading people, you're pouring into people, right? So you sell cars,
right?
You're a sales manager. You're good at selling cars, you know the math, they make you a sales manager. You're good at leading people, they give you stores to run, right? And then how you get growth at those stores. So the number one thing that I had to overcome, I had to learn how, is like I had to transfer my passion and my vision to make every deal to my staff. And so then it becomes like you're motivating people. So you're good at selling cars, they promote you. You're good at managing people, leading people, and then they put you in charge of stores. And then you're good at the motivation and getting them to transfer your passion, and they pick up that passion, and then you set records and you break records, and you become number one in the market and things like that. So I had to go down the sales staff, and every person couldn't be managed the exact same way. I had to get the best I could out that person. If I got 12 cars from this one salesperson, that was excellent. If I got 9 from this next salesperson, I had to realize that was excellent. If I got 22 from this guy, I couldn't treat everybody. I think one of the presidents said it, there's nothing more unfair than equal treatment of unequals. So I didn't treat everybody the same. It wasn't cookie cutter, you know. I made exceptions. Later in my career, I gave salaries to these salespeople. And when I was a bad to the bone recruiter, I was at a Chevy store that was selling 300 to 400 cars a month in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is a big feat. And we was number 1 in the market. And I'm the Chevy store, and I took the best talent from the Toyota stores, the best talent from the Nissan stores, because I let them have Saturday off. I give them a $2,000 salary. I valued the person, you know.
Right.
So I valued, like, if a guy sold 15 cars a month, primarily off his cell phone, right? Repeat referrals off his cell phone. You damn right that's worth $2,000, because I'm not getting 15 deals from Auto Trader for the $2,000 I'm spending with Auto Trader.
Right.
So like I kind of changed the game, so to speak, and made it like you know, whatever kind of made sense to help me grow. And again, my passion of wanting to be number 1, have this chip on my shoulder, just trying to prove myself. I'm really an uneducated, insecure guy who's trying to prove himself.
Well, listen, you don't come off as insecure, but you're just throwing so many great things, because great leaders have to be flexible. They can't put things into a box. You can start out with the box, but you have to be flexible. And it sounds like, when you were saying, and I love that, is that when you're selling, when you get up to a point and you're good at managing people, they give you stores. But in that transition, it sounds like your ego has to take a little bit of a change, because now you're delegating and you're letting things go and trusting other people to do it. When you're selling, it's all you. But when you're managing people, which is the hard transition, is really saying, I can't do everything. I'm going to trust this manager to run that team, and I'm going to trust them to do this, because
that's
allows me. Yeah.
Being a salesperson, you're in complete control of the outcome of the sale. And these salespeople listening to this, you're in complete control. The finance manager, the sales manager, nobody stops you from selling a car. You're in complete control. As soon as you realize that, you're going to realize your value. Okay, you're in complete control. You get put on a sales desk, you work in the deals. Now you're in maybe more control, because you can go talk to any customer you want. And then when you're a leader, like managing managers, you're not desking deals so much. And that was a huge transition for me, because I love working with the sales staff. I love working deals. And when I took over as GSM of this Chevy store, it wasn't a traditional GSM. I was like the variable operations director. I managed the managers, set pay plans, marketing, advertising. I bought all the cars. I hired everybody, you know, and my GM, you know, ran the store, but I did the variable operations. We added used car lots, promoted people. So I didn't desk deals. It was like hard. Every now and then we have like a little bad month or something like that. And I tell my GM, I said, look, I'm gonna go back on the desk or a few days a week. No, you can't, you know.
But that and it's right there is one of the hardest things for managers as they get promoted, because like you said, when you're in the front lines and you have the deal and you're getting that little buzz off of that, or you're on the desk and you're getting the buzz of activity and you feel, but as you start moving up, you're getting further away, and it's almost like you're going through withdrawals of that real excitement, and you don't think what you're doing has an impact like that does. But in reality, when you're overseeing a team of 5 people that oversee 10 people, and now my working with those 5 impacts 50, or me setting pay plans, or me doing this, is creating the infrastructure so those other people can accelerate. But it still is a hard transition. I went through it too, where all of a sudden you're going, it's not as exciting or glamorous, or, you know, you're high-fiving in with the team, but it's as valuable to making the whole team function. And you have to sometimes let that excitement go.
Yeah, it's definitely a transition, you know. Definitely like the winning and to you know, man, I love competition. If anybody wants to compete with me in anything, I'm all in. I like the young kids say they want all the smoke. I want all the smoke. If I love competing, and I've always been number one in my market. I took over this one store that hadn't came in first place in 144 consecutive months. The one Nissan store was there was supposed to be 2 points on their side of town, and there was only one, and then there was my Nissan store on another side of town that was like less populated, so you could never beat that store. And on the job interview, I told the person hiring me, I'm going to beat that store. And 90 or 120 days in, we beat them, and it hadn't happened in 144 months. So I love the excitement of competing. How I subsidized that excitement of like working the deals. It was like coming in first place and breaking store records.
Found another way to get that. Yep.
Using social media, taking pictures with the team and telling what we're doing and telling the story of what's going on. And so I still was like running the store and involved, but I wasn't the one desking the deals, but yeah, that's how.
Well, let me pivot on something, because again, when we were prepping for the interview, there were two things that stood out, and that's why I sort of led a little bit with obstacles. You personally have gone through something, with cancer and overcoming and moving past that, still, living with it and all of that.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's curious sometimes, and this is where I want your take on it. How I'd love to know how that impacted you personally and changed you, because sometimes it takes these big events or tragedies or life, large life events to wake people up to change. So for you, pre and post, how did that impact you as a person? And then, of course, now how you interact with the world at large.
Yeah, it changed me dramatically, and for the better. Okay, my cancer is terminal. There's no cure, so I'll never ring the bell. I can't do a certain amount of treatments and chemo and then beat it. It's very aggressive. It's the most aggressive mutation of my particular cancer. It continues to grow unless the medication that I'm on stops it from growing. So it's been 8 years, and I'm on my 5th or 6th different variation of medication. And right now it's currently growing. It's like not for 6 years, 5 years, it was stopped. Nothing was growing. In the last 3 years, we're trying to find, it's mutated and things like that. So, so it's an everyday reminder, but I don't have chemotherapy. I don't have radiation. One of my aunts died within 3 months, just recently, just last week, of getting cancer. So I'm fortunate enough to not be going through that, but I still have it on my mind every single day. So it changed me for the good. It's been 8 years. In 2015, I was running this big Chevy store in New Orleans. I had my 2 sons. They're both working with me in my business now, which is amazing. But they were my 2 sons, and I coached them both in travel baseball and flag football. And I was like, had the world. I was like killing it. The Chevy store was selling 325, 350 cars a month. This ain't Texas. There's another Chevy store in 2 miles away, 2 miles away. And we landlocked in New Orleans, and that's a lot of sales. And everything was going great. And then all of a sudden I get this cancer. And that little girl that I had, she was only 9 months old. Okay. And I had her at like 35. Okay. I had my sons when I was 21 and 23. And so I was young, a boy dad, and we did the sports and kind of brash and trying to learn how to be a father. Where at 35, I was a much better father, and then cancer changed everything. The little girl softened me up, and then the thought of me not being there for the most important moments of her life defined my relationship with her like no other. And my relationship with her is so special. I put it on social media. We go everywhere. I take pictures. I treat her like a princess, because I just don't know how much time I have left. I do believe I'll be healed and God's going to take care of me and everything. I believe that wholeheartedly. But the reality of it is, one of these next visits, they could say, Bruce, there's nothing more we can do. That could happen. So my relationships, like at 35, I started like focusing on like how I treat people and my teams and people, like helping people, Glenn, I'll answer a phone call once or twice a week from across the country. Somebody asking me how to open up a used car lot, or somebody asking me about cancer, or somebody asking me about an Audi no brakes hoodie. And these would be strangers, and I'm giving them an hour, 45 minutes of my time and helping them, because I just know that that's what I'm here for, to help. I'm here for to be a better person and not be this arrogant prick who only cares about the financial statement,
Right.
who cares to try to like help people, you know? And that's what I try to do in my little social media stuff, my Facebook posts and things like that, is to be an impact and try to like positively affect people. Try to show people, look, if I am an uneducated high school dropout, alcoholic and drug abusive parents, my dad committed suicide, my mom died young of cancer. Before she died, we was alienated. You know, I started in the car business, misunderstood, got my shot, made it all the way to managing partner. They fired me in the middle of a pandemic, started over as an independent used car operator. 2 years later, I have 3 used car lots that I own and operate, sell 100 cars a month every month between my 3 used car lots, and just keep overcoming the odds. And I did all that with a terminal cancer, with things that would limit you, would stop you from getting out the bed. Some people would be like, oh man, I'm not even gonna get out the bed. It's over with, And every time somebody prays for me, which I take prayer, no problem, let's pray. But I'm less concerned about me dying of cancer than that person, because I just don't let it slow me down. I'm not getting hung up on it. I'm attacking each day with like this all gas, no brakes mentality. And yeah, that cancer has changed me for the good,
Well, and that's so inspirational, because you just live what you say. And for the short time I've known you, it is amazing. And you look at it and you go, what's firing you up? And unless and we're sharing that with people now, you definitely have another gear. But it's an interesting thing, and being open to help others or be available for others. It's I shared the other day on one of the podcasts with Danny from VinQ. He had asked me, he goes, what was something hard in your life? And I said, well, my son has a medical condition. And, so when you go through those things, people look at you and they probably say this to you too, like, Bruce, how do you do that? But then you're also looking at people who are even braver than you in your mind. And you go, don't look at me, look at them. And so it's always that push pull where, you're looking at someone else and go, man, if they can do it, I can do it. And someone's looking at you and going, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And to just be open to know that your story that you share does inspire and does have an impact on people, and people you'll never meet, never know. But I think that's so wonderful that you are embracing that. And I wish you many, many years, because this is something that's so important, and you're having an impact on others.
You're not just embracing it head on, not afraid of it. If this is the plight, that the badge of honor that I have to wear, this terminal cancer, and I can be a positive impact. I can live my life. With terminal cancer at 41 years old, I turned down $400,000, $500,000 a year jobs to go open my own business, because I was that passionate and believe that I'm gonna be here and this is the right path, the best for my family. And so far so good. It's exactly what I planned, and there's still more growth to come. And like I said, if in my mind, it's like I have 2 kids, a daughter, and my family and things like that. And I'm like, if I have to have the cancer so they don't have the cancer, I wear it with a badge on. I take it every day.
Listen, that parents, parents say that a lot, and I believe that too. You're like, I'll take it, give it to me, leave them alone, just get out of the way. But I think, what you're doing is such a great lesson for all of us as leaders who are responsible for teams, just also the way you live your life personally, to do that every day, be grateful for the day, be open to the fact that you're impacting people. To your point is the arrogance. Listen, you're here for a reason. Don't, as quickly as it's given, as quickly as it can be taken away. So you want to make sure that understanding that your team needs you, whatever team you're leading, be it your family, be it a club, be it a business, they're looking to you for an example. They're looking for you to, when things go tough, that you're not rattled, because you're the leader. Well, if you're getting rattled, what am I going to be able to handle? And I think that's admirable. So it's great lessons. And the fact if for all of you listening, if you listen to the story, everything is like building. So whatever you're going through right now is a lesson to be learned for tomorrow. And it ties back, and I want you to explain this as we head into like the last quarter of the conversation. You wrote something on here where it said, today's achievements are tomorrow's minimum expectations. Am I quoting you correctly?
Yeah, yes. Today's accomplishments or achievements are tomorrow's minimal acceptable standards. And that is a culture of growth. Like if you want to be careful what you choose. The Bible talks about make your callings and elections sure, right? If you want to be a pastor, if you want to be a growth guy and you want to take over stores, and you want to reset the bar and set the bar, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. But once you achieve something, right? If this used car lot had never sold 65 cars in a month and you do 65, well, you did it. The marketing, the employees, the amount of inventory, you did it. So that you should count that as minimum standards going forward. Hey, let's do that again. And then when you break a record, that's how you break records on top of records on top of records on top of records, is because you're promoting growth, you're pushing for those things. And again, it's like a whole process that you have to trust the process from the way you market, to the way you advertise, the amount of people you hire, who you promote, how you stock. Again, you got to keep doing those same things. And like I said, if you accomplish something in your mindset and your team's mindset, that's the minimal acceptable standards going forward. We just did 65. We're going to do 65 again this month.
And I had that conversation today with a dealer client because he was pushing, and I said, here's the game, is that if somebody is doing, for instance, like you were saying, 65 cars, the most important thing is I always tell my clients is examine your successes with the same intensity as you examine your failures. Because sometimes when we are successful, we high five and we go, we sold 65 cars, but we don't know what we did really. So we don't know what to emulate again. Like you said, what was the plan? What did we do so we can replicate it?
Right.
And
how did we get it?
And then 65, if I do it again and again, now 50, which used to be we were happy with 50 should be, oh my God, we had a horrible month. So every time, like you're saying, is your next level as we keep going, wherever we were before, that used to be the goal is now not a failure, but we don't, if we go backwards to that, then we're not doing what we're capable of. And I love that. But it is that idea of, like you just said too, is understand what you did to do that, to achieve, so you can replicate those actions.
Yes.
To be able to deliver the opportunity so that you can continue to hit those and then go, okay, now we're consistent 65. What do we have to do to get to 70?
Yeah. Look,
what lever do we have to pull? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Walking into a store that was selling 80 cars a month and getting that store to an all-time high of 440, it's today's minimum, yesterday's accomplishments or today's minimum acceptable standards. And that's how we got there. And it's like the levers, like if you see the DJ in the movies and he's pushing all the stuff up and the beats, the music's going higher, and everybody's getting excited. Well, that's those levers that you're pushing is personnel, inventory, marketing spend, in development, right? So as you're hitting this goal, if you're a new leader, you're taking on a store and you want to have an impact on this store, and you want to, right? So you have to develop people. You have to if you control the marketing and advertising, you got to make sure you're spending money on marketing and advertising. If you control purchase and inventory, you got to stock the right amount of inventory, and then you got to staff the right amount. And if you get to 65, you can turn it up a little bit. Add a salesperson. Add 10 units out. Then you get to 75, you turn it up a little bit. You keep turning it. It's theoretically, this is all analytics. It's all a numbers game. The amount of money you spend, the amount of personnel you have, the amount of inventory you stock, is going to result a certain amount.
But to what you're saying, and again, leaders, folks listening, listen to what we're saying, is that by having all of those pieces, those verticals, or whatever you want to say, whatever columns, then you can look at each column to say, well, are we maximizing this column, right? Because I could spend marketing and generate opportunities, but if our sales process or lead handling process is not being efficient,
Correct.
Well, then I don't want to just crank up more marketing to get more leads to have a poor process on. So to your point is each one is looked at. A lot of times the failure is we just throw a number up and we go, well, we hit 65. We have no idea what worked. And then we go into the next month and it falls off because we didn't realize, well, that was because of X or Y. And can we
Right.
replicate it that next month or whatever? But it's breaking all of these pieces down and understanding them, to your point, is like a DJ, which knob am I turning up?
Yeah. Well, it's used cars is the one that's the most easy to measure because there's no rebates or there's not a lot of market conditions. Sometimes there is hurricanes, floods.
Right.
But for the most part, used cars is like how many do you have in stock? How much are you spending money to market those cars? And that used car lot, we had as many as 400 on the ground during tax time, and we sold 300 used cars in the city in the Greater New Orleans area in one calendar month. And it's because we had more inventory, you know. And so it's like, no, the reason I say push the levers up is off of success. So if you have success, right, then you got to assume a lot of stuff was working because that was an all-time great month, big successful month, right? Then you tinker with it. You throw more gasoline on that fire and you make the fire bigger. And that's how you keep growing and growing and growing and growing. And you go from 100 to 800 or, you know, my friend Glenn Lundy has an amazing story, not in New Orleans, not 80 to 400, but he took a store from 100 to 1,000. And again, growing along, adding inventory.
Absolutely.
Building it along the way. And that's what I love the most about the car business, because you could do it anywhere. I could take over a store tomorrow in Podunk, Oklahoma, that's selling 50 cars a month. And if they have the right capital, that's an important word. And if I have the right authority to be able to spend, I can sell 150 cars that month and 150 cars a month in that store in no time. And you can do that across the United States of America multiple times. You know, that's what I'm doing in my used car world. My goal is to own and operate 10 of these used car lots, and I'm gonna keep adding fuel to the fire, and I'm gonna keep developing and growing. Somebody's gonna keep accumulating cash, and then when a new car franchise comes available, I'll get back in the new car franchise game. But I'm literally building a company from the ground, from scratch at 41 years old, and now I have $3 million worth of loans under Miller Motors names. I have 12 banks, Capital One, Ally, Exeter, under Miller Motors names, and then less than 24 months ago, I had zero banks, zero inventory, zero floor plans. Just I had a vision, you know. So that's a whole nother podcast about vision.
That's a whole nother podcast. So that's great. So well, listen, this has been phenomenal. I love chatting with you. You're truly one of the most inspiring people I've run across, because you truly live that life of just because you have whatever it is, because everybody has something. Yeah. It can't weigh you down. It only weighs you down if you let it weigh you down. And if you just go, it is what it is, let's get going. I have other things to do. But it is, I think, important, and I can hear it in your voice, is your vision is way more important and way bigger than whatever ailment you have or, you know, obstacle it is, because I got to get there versus focusing on this. So it's a really, really great lesson. So at the end of every episode, I ask 3 different questions. I always ask these 3 questions, and I'd love your input. So the first one, I call them the one. So what's the one, either book or TV show or podcast or, you know, video, something that you're watching that, because you're saying I'm always learning. What's the one thing that you're listening to or reading right now that is inspiring you that you would share with everyone else?
Yeah. There's been many over the years that shaped who I am. You know, when I read the 10X rule, that's how that growth of that Chevy store took place, because it was like 10 times the effort, 10 times. That really helped me. Shark Tank. When I became like, when I was in the franchise world, I opened up a bunch of satellite lots for my owners, and I had to negotiate leases and put plans together. And now being an entrepreneur, I pretty much live in the Shark Tank pitch every day of my life, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so that's things that like really, really shape me, you know. I listen to podcasts right now. I listen to, I'm into some training with Glenn Lundy. We do 800% Club. It's like 2 hours of training every week. That's the primary thing that I'm doing currently. I've been doing for a year and a half. And it's just on top of the market. I'm connected with 100 other dealerships across the country, and so not necessarily an audiobook and not necessarily a TV show, but that's what I'm currently doing. It's 1 hour training every week and 1 hour Q&A. And on this Q&A at the Zoom call, they might be Alex Flores, it might be Liza Myers or Borges, it might be Brad Wise, it might be Patrick Abad. They're all in the group, and I'm hearing about their stories of what's not working and working in their stores across the country. There's a bunch of independents in there too. And so that's what's got me going at the exact moment.
Perfect. Great. We'll put all these in. And I know Glenn personally, and his 800% club is a great value. What's the one piece of advice that you have gotten that helped you? And then what would be one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's just starting out, like they just got promoted to lead a team? So what was the best piece of advice you got, and what would you give to a brand new manager?
The best piece of advice I got when I was a young salesperson, one of the marketing directors of the group one of the store I worked at came to me and says, "Man, think about your future." And I never, at that moment, I was only a year in the business, 22 years old. I didn't think about the future. And he got me to thinking about being in management and taking care of customers and referrals and CSI and growth. And I was just like selling cars, and that bit of advice or that bit of love that man, showed me, or direction that man gave me, was impactful, because it got me to think about the future. The one bit of advice I would give to anybody is, you're one or two cars. You meet a customer today, you might sell them 10 cars. So treat everybody with respect, build rapport with everybody. And that's when that man told me that's what I took from that situation. So I went forward trying to build relationships. And the more customers you have, the more value you bring to the table, and the more valuable you are. One thing I would give to a new manager today is just make sure you give as much as you take. You're gonna be the boss, and you're gonna punish and late, and you're gonna split deals, but make sure you give in as much as you take. Make sure there's money in that account. You make deposits in people's lives, and you can take all the withdrawals out you want. Look, I'm not the most easiest to work for at times. I love my people, but I make deposits in their lives. I'm pouring into them. I'm helping them so I can make withdrawals, so I can lean in when we need to buckle down and we need to do things. If all you're doing is making withdrawals, you're going to come back in SF. So give more than you take. Make more deposits in those lives so you can make withdrawals. That's what I would give advice to a new leader.
Love that. Love that. All right, last one. We've talked about a lot today. And like I said, I really appreciate you taking your time. This has been a great conversation. What's the one thing you hope the people who listen to this take away? What's the one thing you want them to take away?
Eliminate fear. Eliminate limiting beliefs. Eliminate all that nonsense. Get that out your head. Because if I listen to everybody as an uneducated 21-year-old salesperson, I wouldn't have made it. Once you have some sustained stints of success, you need to build upon that. And once you have a belief of yourself, don't let nobody take that away from you. Once you've accomplished things, you can look back and say, "Man, I was salesperson of the month," or "Man, I did accomplish these things." And just don't believe in yourself, no matter if anybody else believes.
Love that. Love that. That's awesome. So, again, thanks for being here. How can people get in touch with you? Because again, you are present on social media. So if somebody wants to connect with you, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, Facebook and LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn longer than I've been on Facebook. I have 13,000 connections on LinkedIn. I've been using LinkedIn proficiently for a while. Do a lot of business on LinkedIn, and then Facebook. It's both of it's just Bruce Miller. I'm in the Greater New Orleans area, and then from there you can DM me or message me. I'll give my cell phone number to anybody. I'll talk business with anybody. I'll try to encourage anybody. I'm trying to make myself valuable. So there's a reason for God to keep me here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm trying to make myself valuable. So I love talking about the car business. I love collaborating. If anybody wants to open up a used car lot or They know somebody has a small dealership a couple hours from here that they want to sell 20% and me help take over marketing, advertising, and, you know, set the path. I'm open to all those things. You know, the car business, we have all kind of crazy. A guy owns a marketing company, but he has a used car lot and he's got 10% of this Chevy. So, you know, we have all these crazy agreements and crazy arrangements in the car business. And I'm ready for some more crazy agreements and crazy arrangements, you know?
I love that. All right. Well, listen, folks, this was a great conversation. So audience, you know the drill. If you found value today with the conversation between Bruce and myself, please make sure you share it out. I know there's someone in your network that could benefit from what Bruce just shared. Again, don't forget to like this, subscribe to the channel. We're here every single week with information to help you become the leader that you're looking for. I appreciate that you spent some time with us. I know there's a lot of places for you to get content today, but the fact you spent some time with Bruce and myself means the world. As I say at the end of every episode, you're in charge. But now Bruce gave you a few more tips and strategies to help you become the person and the leader that you're looking to become. Thanks again. I look forward to seeing you. And Bruce, I'm looking forward to crossing paths with you one of these days.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, my friend. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you.